Hey, Popok, Canada begs to differ, eh?
We get to see the maple trees, maple sugar and the maple leaves. We get the biggest wheat fields growing tall. In Canada, where we see the reversing falls. In Canada, we get to see them all.
Your video today titled Mexico Outmaneuvers Trump While Canada Kisses the Ring made me sick.
When Donald Trump said, I'm going to tax and tariff our way into economic ruin by taxing and tariffing Mexico 25% for imports and exports, she reminded Donald Trump very quickly that she was going to tariff back at 25%, and that will lead to 500,000 American jobs on the other side of the border, poof, disappearing. Wall Street responded with a victory for Claudia Sheinbaum, the peso against the dollar rising almost 2%. The Canadians, on the other hand, sort of handled this a Canadian way. Justin Trudeau decided that he was going to be the first leader of any of the G7 countries to go bend the knee and kiss the ring down at Mar-a-lago. He's down there because his provincial leaders are telling him, don't start a war with Donald Trump and make nice with Donald Trump. Okay, I will. So he goes down there and gives Donald Trump exactly what he wants. And instead of having what happened in Mexico, Trudeau leaves from the conference and Donald Trump says, we had a far-reaching conversation about fentanyl, about the trade deficit between Canada and the U.S., and we got a lot of work to still do. In other words, he didn't even give him the bone of this guy coming down because Donald Trump doesn't respect. I am sure they were high-fiving in the whatever they're using as their transition office when they got Trudeau to fly down to meet with Donald Trump about the 25%.
I'm disappointed in you, Popok. You made several claims in there that could even be considered libelous with no merit, no evidence, sir. And you've pissed off your Canadian followers, too, as your own comment section shows. Take a read of some of those. You're confusing Trudeau's meeting with him on his own turf for weakness. You don't know Canadians very well, and you could have done a little research into this. After last week's threat by tweet about raising a blanket tariff of 25% over Canada goods and Mexico and China, there was a meeting of the premiers of Canada to discuss how to approach him about this. And our Prime Minister made a phone call during which the Cheeto-elect invited him down to a dinner. But it wasn't to kiss anything. It was to remind him of the existing agreements we have and our long-standing friendship and their relationship that goes back nearly a decade. This wasn't just to have a photo op, and your claim I call bullshit on that he was sent down there or he just decided to be the first G7 leader to go down there for a photo op. There is no evidence of that.
Justin Trudeau had an emergency meeting with premiers on Thursday to talk about a Team Canada approach. The face-to-face meeting here that they have managed to get is as I said, very significant. It will allow them to try and better understand some of the concerns that the president has and allow Canada to explain what it is already doing to address some of the president-elect's concerns. A political win, certainly, to get the meeting in, but there is a lot at risk if there is no good outcome here, and it will be Justin Trudeau who wears that if he doesn't get something out of tonight.
You're confusing Trudeau's more friendly-seeming face-to-face approach for weakness. I mean, he accepted this offer in order to get on top of the matter and remind him of the long-standing relationship between our two countries, the two leaders themselves, to remind him of the risk of counter tariffs.
Trudeau bring along with him his public safety minister. Trudeau telling reporters before he left that tariffs would hurt not just Canadians, but Americans too. Canada is America's second largest trading partner, second only to Mexico. Those two countries together account for $1 trillion in trade a year, and tariffs could include rising costs on everything everything from cars to electronics to fresh fruits and vegetables. And also, there's concerns this morning that Canada and Mexico could implement their own tariffs in response to Trump if he follows through on his threats.
So, the Canadian coverage of his attending this was overall positive. According to AP News, Canadian officials say lumping Canada in with Mexico is unfair, but say they're ready to make new investments in border security. Trudeau brought up the issue of guns and weapons crossing into Canada, as well as fentanyl and other drugs. When Trump imposed higher tariffs during his first term in office, other countries responded with retaliatory tariffs of their own. Canada, for instance, announced billions of new duties in 2018 against the U.S. in a tit-for-tat response to new taxes on Canadian steel and aluminum. Canada is already examining possible retaliatory tariffs on certain items between the U.S. should Trump follow through on his threat to impose sweeping tariffs on Canadian products, a senior official told the AP this week. Also remind us, Hannah Rose 5739 says, as a Canadian, I believe there wasn't much choice. Trump isn't allowed into our country as a convicted felon. There's that. Many people bring that up. As a convicted felon, Trump shouldn't even be allowed into Canada, no matter his position. The rules should apply to all. And Canada has actually, they say they don't want our border to become a gateway for terrorists. Well, Canada has actually considers the Three Percenters or the Proud Boys are now an official terrorist organization here in Canada. When two world leaders meet to discuss immigration, border security, trade, and defense, it's called diplomacy. Don't underestimate Canada, says Kitten0815JC. Awake Lazarus says, we'll be friendly until we aren't. Everyone has a line in the sand. Canadian tolerance only will go so far, and then we have time to plan better before we flip the table. Colleen Graham 9316 says, Canadian here, we've been through this before with Trump, and while I respect the president of Mexico, don't assume a visit from the PM is capitulation. Trump is a chaos creator, and this is not the only issue. Our diplomatic team will be working with senators. It's a marathon. On one we have run before. It's exhausting. Leslie Von Zubin says, don't mistake cooperation with allegiance. Trudeau knows how to handle a narcissist. Mexico did it the Mexican way, and Trudeau did it the Canadian way. Sandy White 1550 says, Canada speaks softly, but they carry a big stick. Remember, the U.S. needs Canada's resources. Diplomacy goes a long way. Design Chick says, Canada didn't kiss the ring. Trudeau did what a responsible leader does. Go to the source to determine how much of a threat he is facing. I admire our leader. He isn't a moron like Trump. You can keep your opinions to yourself. And if you're going to be the host of a legal show, you should check your sources and make sure you know what of you speak. Stay tuned for more Canadian Drain on Political Drain. Like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more on Political Drain, Canadian edition.